It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing just across the river, 23rd Avenue. Get over to Joe's Karting today, and today is the day of the Daytona 500, so we have your agenda set. Get over there about 11, 12 o'clock today, do yourself some racing. Head over to Quaker Steak and Lube at noon. About noon, 1 o'clock for the Daytona 500. We start the party at 1 o'clock. You can win autographed items from Sammy Swindell, Bobby Pierce, Jack Dover, Cody Ledger, Shaylee Bade, McKenna Haase. We have over 200 autographed items we're giving away today at Quaker Steak and Lube for the Daytona 500 party. And then after everything's all over with and you think to yourself, I could have done what they did at NASCAR this weekend at Daytona, head back over to Joe's Karting and do another round of racing. Get those forearms all nice and fired up over to Joe's Karting today. And we'll say a big thank you to Joe's Karting for sponsoring the front stretch. And joining us today, operations manager for Joe's Karting and the driver of the number 25 Sport Mod throughout the area, the IMCA Sport Mod. Buddy Ray, how you doing, bud?
We're doing pretty good. I just got to start this off. Who's your pick for the Daytona 500? I'm going with Martin Truex.
You remember from back in the days. I never pick for the 500 because it's such a game. I mean, it could change on lap 2, and we know how many times it changes on those last lap and a half, 2 laps of who's going to get it. But you can't deny Brad Keselowski. I mean, he is probably the best at speedway racing right now. Although Joey Logano, if he can turn around what he had in 17, Denny Hamlin's been solid at the super speedways lately.
Keselowski's a strong choice.
Yeah, I think I got to
really.
take.
I'm going Martin Truex.
All right, well,
I like Martin Truex.
If Truex wins, there'll be a beer waiting for you at Quaker Steak after the 500.
Can we make it 2 beers?
I think you could squeeze a second one out of me. If I'm able to stand and order a second one.
If anybody's ever seen me lately, I'm on this personal growth trend, you know.
You're joining us because big new announcement coming out of Joe's Karting. You guys are adding a new division to the Joe's Karting brand. It's no longer going to be just karting. You're now adding a new factor to what people can come down to Joe's Karting and enjoy.
Yeah, it's going to be Joe's Karting racing parts and tires. So we are going to be selling racing tires, racing parts. And a lot of people have already asked me, are we doing just circle track? Or are we doing drag racing? My answer is yes.
Yeah.
We're covering it all. Last time I looked at my spreadsheet, I have 101,000 unique parts. What's nice about Joe's doing this, we're not here to tell you to quit going to your chassis builder. Mm-hmm. We're not here to tell you to quit going to your current part supplier. But there's been times in the past, myself included, we're working on our cars and it's 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden we have to stop what we're doing because we have to stop, order the parts the very next day, wait 2 days to get them in. Well, now, as long as the racers can tell me what they need and what they want to have a stock, well, now we're open until 10, 11 o'clock at night. So now if you need something in the Omaha area, just come down to Joe's, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we get you what you need and go. Also, if you're at work, just call me. Usually 48 hours, I can have it in stock. If you want to pay a little bit more, usually the next day, but you've known me as long as I do, or as long as you have.
Yeah.
I'll do anything I can possible to work with you on getting you your stuff.
Well, I think the best aspect of this and what I like about it is that part you just talked about, you nailed it on the head. You got that one, that part is perfect where you guys don't work on your cars Thursday night or Thursday afternoons at 2 o'clock and then realize, oh, wait, I need this bolt or I need this gasket or I need this. You guys are working on it at 8 o'clock at night, and when you realize you need that, you're kind of, up the, whatever creek without a paddle until you can get it ordered and get it shipped to you or go pick it up at the shop. Now you got Joe's Karting to run over there and grab those things.
And as well as I do, when we're out at the racetracks, everybody knows who I am. And I'm not saying that in an egotistical way, but everybody knows who I am. I know who everybody else is.
Some know you in a good way, some know you in a bad way.
Yeah, that's debatable on what percentage goes either way. But
right.
With that being said, let's say it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and it's, you're at an I-80, for example. Ron Sardison is a godfather of part suppliers. I'm not telling you don't go to Ron, but if you really need something and you're trying to get ready for the Cornerster Classic Night 2, get a hold of me. We'll run down to Joe's. We'll get you something. It might be 11:30, midnight. I don't see that being the norm, but I live, a mile from the track. I can help you.
Right. If Ron can't help you, and Ron's a good enough guy, he knows that if he can't help you, he'd rather you help them out than the person not get helped at all.
What really shocks a lot of people, you know, we're going to be doing these parts and tires, but I am not going to stop buying parts from Ron Sartison. He is the godfather of parts. I'm going to buy parts from Razor Chassis, Carl's Performance. I'm still buying parts from other people, just like other people. I'm just here to kind of give an outlet for those that are needing stuff at night.
Yeah, you're not offering. That's exactly what you do. You're offering an after-hours parts shop option, so that if they need it after the hours, they're able to go help out. Talk about who can come and shop with you. Is it all divisions that are racing around
all divisions. Here? So we probably won't carry a lot of sprint car stuff. We might, but that's not really what I'm going for. I think Precise Auto Racing does a fantastic job with the sprint car community, and they cover most everything else also. We're looking to cover more late models, modifieds, B-mods, hobby stocks, street stocks. But we also, 10 minutes south of town, you know, we have a drag strip. So those guys there, the number one thing I've heard from those guys is, well, you circle track guys have several outlets that will take care of you, but we don't have anybody for the drag racing. Well, guess what? Come on down, see me, and we'll see what we can do to take care of you. So we're going to carry the Hoosier tires, the G60s. I will have some availability to some Hoosier drag radials for the drag racers. Late model tires are going to be a little tough, so I don't know if I'm going to carry them. I'm working on that right now. And this is all, I just want to let everybody know that this is all in its infancy. So when you come in, don't expect to be in and out in about 30 seconds. Don't expect to be there an hour either. But my crew's going to work really, really hard on looking up your stuff and make sure you get the best customer service possible. So we're all in the growing stages together. So
well, and while you're waiting for your part to be pulled, go race. What a better thing you can do. And what, 16 laps takes about
about 6 minutes.
Plans for the future. So we're talking about opening up the shop right now, and that's going to be opened in the coming days, correct?
Actually, I can buy and sell parts now. So if you come in there and you see the shelves, we should have inventory on the shelves right now. But if it looks a little bleak, don't freak out. You know, we're just trying. We don't want to overload our shelves with stuff that's going to sit there forever. We want to make sure we can take care of your needs, whether it be immediate or long term. So
it's going to be a learning of what's the desire and when it's going to be desired, when are parts and more higher and lower demand, that kind of stuff. Any thoughts about expanding into a parts trailer and hauling that behind the truck as out at different events?
You know, if I had $1 for every time that question's already been asked, I could buy a brand new Sport Mod. I will tell you this, it's on my radar. Is it going to be something that's going to happen in the next 6 months? If this year, probably not. I'm not going to say never say never, but I don't think it's really our main goal this year. If it happens, great. If it don't, it don't. But eventually, I'd like to get to that point.
Big thing is if people can call you up and order the parts in advance, they can stop by up until about 10, 11 o'clock, but pay attention to the Joe's Karting hours, because I imagine the parts store hours are going to reflect the changing times. So, because during the summertime, Joe's Karting's open up later.
Strongly. And those hours are not set in stone yet. You know, in the summertime, we open up at 2 o'clock. Right now, we're opening up at 4 o'clock. I think we're going to be opening the parts side at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, face it, Dan, you and Dirk have been around racing long enough. When all of us guys are racing at night, guess what? Guess when we're working? During the day. So we'll open up at 2 o'clock, but the track side for racing inside Joe's won't open until 2 or 4, depending on what time of the year it is.
And you'll bring parts to the track if they call you in advance.
If somebody says, Bud, look, you know, if I buy parts, can you just put them in your trailer? If you're going out to ID, Now, look, if I'm going to be racing in Webster City, it might be a little bit of a different story.
Might have to work out something else for that. All right. Is there a Facebook page, website, any kind of information?
Just go to the Joe's Karting page. We're very slowly releasing information on the Joe's Karting page. A lot of people are going to my personal page, Buddy Ray Jones. I've had a lot of people 3:30 in the morning from the surrounding states literally asking me for prices on parts and availability. But when it comes to these performance parts, don't think that it's just circle track, dirt racing, and drag racing. We've had this availability to look at parts for well over a month now. And every day, I'm like a little kid at, on Christmas morning going, ooh, we can get that. Ooh, ooh, we can get that.
I can only imagine. All right, real quick, what's going on with the 25 this year?
This is our 25th anniversary being in the car, so we're really excited. We learned an awful lot. We progressed nicely in 2017, and I want to say thanks to Joe's Karting, my primary sponsor, Third Base Bar and Grill, KH Suspension, and some other sponsors. My crew chief, Matt Dennis, he's been a big help. But this year, plan on just touring around.
Yeah.
You know, not racing weekly anywhere. Last year in 2017, I think we did 30 nights at 25 different tracks, and we got to see a lot of different mentalities with promoters and drivers, and it was an eye-opening experience, to say the least.
It's kind of interesting. It's like you said, the mentality, just the way that certain promoters handle some things. Some of them you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then
one of the biggest things that really shocked me, we went to West Liberty for an IMCA show, and the track announcer goes, well, here's what we do, bud. On the in the feature, if you go into the pits for a flat tire in this track, Dirk, I don't know if you've ever been to West Liberty. It's a big track. It makes I-80 look like Eagle Raceway. It's huge. He's like, if you need to go in the pits to get a flat tire, well, you come out, you're probably going to be one lap down. Yeah. Well, on the next caution, you get the lucky dog, and you get to go back on the tail end of the lead lap.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, why would you do that? And he actually put his arm around me, and he goes, you see up there in the stands, all those people paid hard-earned money to see you racers put on a show. And he's like, well, by God, we're going to give them a good show. And, you know, I thought that was really interesting. But I could go into an entire whole show on what some of these tracks do, but it's been so much fun, and we've made so many new friends and fans and whatnot.
It's got to be nice not to be tied down to one track every day, once a week, every time for the entire season,
so,
that you can kind of expand out a little bit, and like you said, go see what else is going on out there.
There's no pressure whatsoever, and here's an interesting stat. We couldn't believe this. We were so scared because we didn't have a lot of spare parts in the trailer driving to all these tracks. And at the end of the year, we rung up our repair bill. We spent less money driving at 25 different tracks in 30 nights in 8 states, I think it was. We spent less money doing that touring than we did running one weekly show at one track.
Don't tell your weekly guys that. They all might start doing that.
Yeah.
We need those weekly guys to keep the tracks going.
we bent one spindle, broke one tie rod, and one ball joint.
Yeah.
And all that, and that was honestly my fault. I jumped out to the lead in the feature, and the track slicked off a little too much I wasn't expecting that, and I was like, oh, but you know what, the guys weren't mad and whatnot, and even the racers that we raced against, everybody was just so hospitable and, you know, accommodating and whatnot. So
awesome.
You did want to hit this, guys. Support your weekly tracks.
Yeah.
That is, Matt and I firmly believe the tracks have got to have those weekly cars.
All right, parts store coming to Joe's Karting. You can go over to Joe's Karting's Facebook page, get more information on that, or like Buddy on Facebook, which I imagine you're probably
it's just
close
my personal page. Yeah.
So you don't have a maximum number of people that can like you.
Well,
oh no, you do it because the personal page is
5,000.
5,000. But you can find out more information on that. Imagine the Joe's Karting website's going to have some information on it.
Oh yeah, stop down by Joe's. We got Rich, my boss. He kind of laughed. It's like bellying up to a bar. We actually have a counter there with bar stools right there, and you can just mosey up to the counter. We can look up your parts and get you going.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, no Bud Light included.
Oh.
No Samuel Adams.
First race of the season?
We don't know yet.
Okay. No bull ring at Eagle. No spring meltdown.
Well, I will.
Battle in the bull ring. I think it is on March 31st.
I'm actually going to the spring meltdown, which I think is April 6th. I think because April 7th. That's the weekend of my birthday, and I'm going to WrestleMania, so that's going to be a fun weekend. We're going to go racing on Friday night. I'm going to go to WrestleMania on Saturday.
You know, that'll be the 7th anniversary of you dragging me to my first dirt race.
Really? It's been that long?
Yep, 7 years.
Wow.
Yep.
And look where you're at now.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Well, it's kind of like...
Look where I'm at now.
Same place.
Still working on Sunday mornings. All right, buddy. Again, like him on Facebook. Find him on Facebook. Like Joe's Karting. Head over to joeskarting.com, karting with a K, for the parts store information, and then check out the 25.
Right.
All right, man. Appreciate you coming in. Can't wait to see you out at I-80 and Eagle this year.
All right. Thanks, bud.
All right. We'll be back in turn number 2 here on the front stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100+ people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
This week's Young Gun on the front stretch is 15-year-old Cole Rocket Man Wayman. Cole is starting his 7th full season as a dirt track driver. After cutting his teeth in the go-kart ranks, Cole's been moving up the division classes, racing stock cars, mini sprints, sport mods, and modifieds. In 2016, Cole won the Valley Speedway Championship in the E-Mod class with 6 wins on the season. Cole is coming off another great season, picking up a feature win, a Rookie of the Year honor, and finishing 9th all at Eagle Raceway. He followed it up with an 8th place finish at Beatrice Speedway. Cole has big plans for 2018 as he is eyeing top 5 points finishes at Beatrice and Eagle, while also going for IMCA National Stock Car Rookie of the Year honors, driving the number 24 in honor of the late Don Moore. Keep your eye out for the Independence Equipment Company, Lance Built Graphics, Elite Welding, and Fab number 24 stock car and number 18 sport mod, driven by this week's Young Gun, Rocket Man Cole Wayman. This week's Young Gun has been presented by I-80 Speedway, home of the Silver Dollar Nationals.
This is Andrew from Kaziski Auto Parts. Kaziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kaziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kaziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kaziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 2, time to talk with Wally Rogers to get an idea of his history in NASCAR racing and then some of the things that he's getting prepared for.
Wally, who are you a crew chief with right now?
Well, we're running an Xfinity car part-time towards the end of the year, so we're not going to go to Daytona with the Xfinity car, but I'm the shop foreman and the part-time crew chief for our second Cup car and our Xfinity car when we do run those.
And who's the outfit you're working with then?
Tri-Star Motorsports.
Tri-Star. Okay, definitely heard of them before. Been around quite a while.
Take us through the beginning of this racing career for you. What got you addicted?
Well, man, I could start all the way at the very beginning. My grandfather raced modifieds back in the late 40s and 50s, right when it had first started. So eventually it had got my father into racing, and my dad had raced open wheel modifieds up in New Jersey. And, you know, I was always around him when he was working on them in the garage and all those other things. And when I was trying to figure out what my career moves were going to be as I was going through high school, the IROC series was based right there in Tinton Falls. So I kind of used some of the IROC series as a base to get myself started with working on bigger fendered cars, I guess you'd call them. And Ray Evernham and my dad were kind of good friends, and my cousin Gary at the time, those two kind of ran the deal. And I kind of was in there as a kid, and I started, like everybody else, man. I was cleaning cars and wiping stuff down, and then before long, a couple years later, you're building shocks, setting cars up, kind of handling a lot of the day-to-day preparation.
Helping out wherever you could, and before you knew it, you had responsibilities.
Yeah, and it's crazy. When you set your sights on some of your goals, I had always wanted to come down south just to see if you could make it. You know, I mean, a lot of people do, and it's a tough road to hoe sometimes. But I got an opportunity to go to work for Leo Jackson Motorsports in 1995, and started there same way, man. I had to start all over. I went from being like one of the head guys at IROC at the time to putting seats in and doing driver comfort stuff for the IROC, or for Leo Jackson's at the time, and Robert Presley was driving. And then I kind of, little by little had worked my way up. Some people had left, and there were some opportunities, and I kind of pounced on those opportunities to showcase what I was capable of doing.
So that was basically when you were working with Presley driving. That would have been in like a Busch Series type car or a Busch North car? What would that have been?
That was actually a Cup car.
Oh, okay.
That was the 33 Skoal Bandit car at the time. And, when Andy Petrie had come back to work over there, it was amazing how much knowledge he had and the amount that he was willing to share. Andy was and still is kind of an old school guy, where if you were willing to listen and he saw some promise in you, he would teach you everything that he knew. And I was very fortunate to be around him, especially at the early part of my career.
He'd never hold back just those few pieces of details that would give him keys or advantages, right?
No, the funny thing about Andy was that there were certain people that he was that way with, but if he kind of took a liking to you, or he saw how hard you worked and the dedication that you had, he was willing to give you the same opportunities that he had. But you had to prove yourself like anything else, certainly wasn't given to you.
Yeah, so then after working with the Cup car for a few years, because I know when I met you, I'm going to say 2002 or 3, when you moved over and were crew chiefing for Kevin Harvick's truck outfit. Does that sound about the right time frame, 02, 03, somewhere in there?
Yeah, I think I started at Kevin's at the end of 03, but I had worked at Andy's until 2000. And then in 2000, I had left and went to work for Joe Nemechek, had partnered with a guy named Ed Evans, and they hired Randy LaJoy to drive a car that was kind of a sister car to the one that Joe was driving, kind of teammates, out of the same shop, built the same way and the whole deal, but just a different owner of sorts. And I did that for a couple of years, and Delana was actually our PR girl at the time. And her and I, had been friends for a while, and she had said that Kevin was starting a truck team, and Kevin wanted to hire me to go help start his company up. And I went to work for Kevin at the end of 2003. I had seen the trucks on TV and obviously watched them at the racetrack, but had never crew chief one, didn't understand what they, the characteristics of them or anything like that. So it was a learning experience, and, it was nice to have someone like Kevin there who had driven the trucks and could understand them and give you good feedback. So as we were building them and helping build his company, it kind of grew at a pretty rapid pace.
Well, and then you had Matt Crafton come in and drive the truck the first full year, and then switched over to Ron Hornaday, who was just put in the Hall of Fame this year. So you had some pretty decent drivers you worked with. Yeah,
it was great. Matt had come from ThorSport, which was at the early stages of ThorSport, and then again at the early stages of KHI. And I felt like we had a really good year. But in 2004, I thought we did, and things were kind of clicking. We had a bunch of top 5s and top 10, and I think we finished somewhere around the top 5 for the championship that year. And then they brought Hornaday in, and man, Ron, his race savviness, and honestly, the fact that the guy could drive. Sometimes I'd give him junk to drive, and he could go win and run in the top 5 with trucks that really didn't drive that good. He just flat out drive everybody, at that time. It was a lot of fun, man. It really was. Those were great times.
So now let's just go ahead and fast forward up here to like 2018. What are you guys doing right now? Like you said, you're not taking the Xfinity car to Daytona, but what are you guys doing with the Cup side to get ready for Daytona?
We're Chevrolet, so we're hanging new bodies. Switching all of our bodies over from last year's model, the SS, to the Camaro this year. And our team is it's pretty small in comparison to the big teams that have 400 or 500 people. We have maybe a grand total of 20. So it's kind of cool because it's a lot like racing used to be, where everybody does a little bit of everything. And for me personally, I kind of like that, because even though I'd gone off and I had been a crew chief for some time, and still am to a certain extent, I love working on cars. I like to fabricate. I really enjoy that. I love, whether it's building ductwork or crush panels or anything like that. So our days and night, especially this time of year, consist of just preparing cars and trying to get some cars put together so we can get started here at the beginning of the season. Because the beginning of the season on that Cup schedule is pretty tough. You go to Daytona, Atlanta, and then you're out on the West Coast for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that was always. It was fun even for us officials having to bounce back and forth all the time. It's not just you guys, but you guys got a lot more laying on the line. And, I know when Daytona comes around, you hope to have your stuff ready for 3-4 weeks in advance so you don't get behind.
Right. And that's the hardest part. And with all the recent rule changes, with what they're doing with that Hawkeye deal and the way all that stuff goes, it's hard for us right now to make sure that we're 100%, because there is always that little bit of maybe a shadow of doubt that you're leaving something at home, that you're not used to doing that. So it's a learning experience for sure.
How much of a learning experience is dropping a guy off the pit crew going to do?
I think that it's going to. It's funny because back when I started, we had 3 tire changers and 2 carriers, and 1 tire carrier. So some of the older guys, they remember where the tire carrier would drop 1 tire off and give it to the jack man, and he would hang that tire, and then the guy that carried the tire over would hang the front tire and then go around and kind of do the same thing. But I think that these guys nowadays, they're so good. I mean, they're all, or the majority of them, I shouldn't say all of them, but the majority of them are former athletes. Way back when, it was just the same guys we took to the racetrack. Those were the same guys that carried, changed tires, and did all that stuff. So it was, you had to, on Saturday nights, you kind of had to be a good boy, let's just say.
Well, Dirk always tells me this story about you bringing a fishing pole to a track one day and making the series director mad. Can you tell your version of that story for our fans?
I don't remember where we were. We were somewhere in the Midwest.
Kansas Speedway.
And didn't it rain or something? And we were kind of putzing around at the racetrack or something, and then there was a Cabela's right outside the racetrack. So I was like, well, heck, I'm just going to go over there and I'll buy a fishing pole, and then maybe I'll just go down the road there because the river's right down the road, and I might just cast, and maybe I'll catch a fish while we're waiting around in the rain. I figured they'd call me and get me back to the track, but Wayne Alton was the series director. He was a little upset at that point in time because I think that they were trying to have some kind of crew chief meeting or something, and they had to wait a little bit for me because I was off fishing.
Yeah, gone fishing.
That was the only weekend that I was ever involved with the major series like that where they practiced on race day because we hadn't got on the track. We didn't get on the track Thursday or Friday like we were supposed to, and so they actually gave like a half an hour practice and then lined up and raced on Saturday. Huh. It was so wet.
Yep. Yeah, it was. That was a wet weekend. I remember that. I didn't catch anything either. I was a little ticked off about that.
Wrong bait.
So I not only got yelled at, and I didn't catch anything. It would have been fine if I'd have caught something, but I didn't catch anything.
And I don't remember where the other track was where you come pushing the truck through the template line for about the 20th time, and you had about 4-foot piece of like 2x10 taped on the front of the bumper because you were upset with us holding those templates on the front.
Yeah. Well, back then the rules were a little different. We could be pretty creative. So we were trying to get something through, and I was tired of pushing the thing around. So I was like, well, maybe this 2x10 will fit the template. So we'll just go on with that and see what happens. And again, I saw humor in it. Wayne and the guys. I mean, Dirk did because he had a good sense of humor, but there was a lot of guys that didn't have much sense of humor about it. They were a little too serious about what they were doing. But what we do, and Dirk knows, you're gone away from home so much. That's your second family. So it's okay to cut up and enjoy yourself. Nowadays it's so. Everybody's so serious, and I don't know. I like to have fun. I can be very serious, and I can be serious to the point where I walk around and people think I'm mad all the time because I do like to cut up and joke around. But if they don't see me doing that, then they assume that I'm upset or that I'm mad about something. But that's just, it's a long, grueling schedule, especially the Cup schedule, and sometimes you just got to lighten up.
If it wasn't a tough sport, everybody would do it. You'd see 75 to 100 cars showing up every week.
Yeah.
And there were times, especially I remember when I started in what was then the Busch Series, you'd go down to Daytona, there were 70 cars down there.
Yep.
70 cars to try and qualify for those races. And, you've seen it dwindle down. And there's always the guy that's got one in his garage that wants to bring it down. And he has a slight chance at making the race. But if all things fall his way, then he can do it, man. He's made a career out of one day, and I think that part is cool, and I think that there's some of that's missing right now in all 3 series, quite honestly. But I mean, I guess that's evolution, and it has its growth. I don't always have to agree with it, but I guess if I want to continue to keep doing it, I got to kind of bite my tongue about it, right?
Got to tolerate it.
Well, Wally, we really do appreciate your time. Try to keep your sanity over the next couple of months as you get ready for your first race. Do you know when you're going to be at the track for the first time?
No, I'm not sure. We haven't. Our biggest push right now is obviously to get the Cup cars prepared and to get them guys out the door to go to Daytona and through the West Coast, and then we're probably going to sit down after the West Coast trip and evaluate everything and just kind of pick and choose. Maybe be like one of those guys that just shows up at one of the races and tries to make the race and has a good time doing it.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you this season. We appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing you at the racetrack.
Maybe catch you over at Iowa Speedway or down at Kansas?
Oh, boy, I hope so. I like Iowa. That's a lot of fun.
All
All
righty.
right, Wally Rogers, shop foreman for Tri-Star Motorsports. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks, Wally.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 3. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
In a world where speed reigns supreme, where discipline and danger collide, unpredictability is the one thing you can count on.
Jimmy Johnson, a night of ups and downs, and it's down again.
On May 12th, just one hero will triumph. No one knows which hero it will be.
He's going to do it again tonight here at Kansas Speedway.
Critics are calling it an unscripted masterpiece. If you see only one epic event this spring, make it this one. Kansas Speedway is the only place you can experience this kind of heart-pounding suspense. Witness a battle where drama lurks at every turn.
Up and into the outside wall is Ricky Stenhouse, Jr.
Coming soon to a track near you. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Night Race. Only at Kansas Speedway, May 12th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. Rated U for unexpected.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, rolling into turn number 3, and it's time to sit down with a person that's pretty involved in the sport, and really he is the epitome of behind the scenes. If his job is done right, you don't notice a thing. And we're talking with Jay Pennell. Did I say that right, Pennell?
Pennell.
Pennell. My apologies, Jay Pennell. And Jay is a PR director, or a PR guy for Richard Childress Racing. Do you primarily work Xfinity Series or Cup Series, Truck Series? Where's your main responsibilities?
This year I work primarily with Daniel Hemrick in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Okay.
Last year I worked with Hemrick as well during his rookie year in the Xfinity Series, but I also worked with Paul Menard on the Cup side for the majority of the year last year. So definitely have touched it all, and I'm looking forward to maybe having my Sundays back.
Maybe.
A little less time on the road with an Xfinity team as opposed to Cup, about 6 or 8 weeks. So, yep.
Well, Jay, we kind of wanted to get your perspective as we're getting ready for the Daytona 500. So much of us fans have gotten geared up this week. As we're seeing cars on the track, we've seen a little bit of action, but you guys have been hot and heavy since about January 2.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we get a little bit of a break. Honestly, it starts in December with planning meetings. We brought on Matt Tiff this year in the Xfinity Series, so we've had some change and adding some guys to the fold. And, you have those conversations in December with partners and lining things up for 2018. Then you have a little bit of a break with the holidays. And like you said, January 2nd, you're back in it. You're planning your schedules. You're looking ahead, months ahead for appearances, working on setting up brand shoots and production days, and just really doing all you can to plan for the upcoming season, so that once we do get to Daytona in a couple weeks, or some of us be going down next week, you're not playing catch up and you're ready to go.
And I know the fun part of your job is nothing set in stone, so whatever you're setting up now for Daytona, or even for, let's say, Texas in March or something like that, might change the day before the race.
Yeah, you definitely have to be flexible. I mean, we try and set things up so that doesn't happen. We try and over communicate with everybody involved in whatever it is, whether it's a track appearance or a media obligation, or something with one of our partners where our driver's got to go be there and meet some folks. We try and over communicate that months in advance, weeks in advance, the week of, and then the day of.
But you definitely have to be on your toes at all times. You definitely have to communicate that with the driver as well, and just make sure everybody's on the same page so that if something does come up, that you're not scrambling and you're confident that you can take care of it, and the folks around you on your team can help as well.
Yeah, I know. We do the same thing here when we're setting. If we're lucky enough to get an interview booked, say with a racer, 3-4 weeks in advance, whatever it is, then we're usually checking to make sure a week in advance that we're still on. And then hey, how about if I send you an email at noon the day of to make sure we're still on? So we do know what you're talking about there.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you'll have everything set and the driver's okay with it. You send him his calendar reminder, all that stuff, and then you get the email, hey, he didn't call into the show, or hey, we're still waiting for him here. So you can do everything that you plan, and you can do everything you need to do, and still sometimes those things happen, and you just have to know how to adapt to it and make sure what needs to be done gets done.
And I always find a fun part is as we've been going back and forth with some emails here for a little bit, is making sure when you're in 2 different time zones, who's on which time. That
is very, very important. Yes.
Is this 6 o'clock East time, or is it Central time, or because I know the dividing line goes down through Indiana, and I know you're in North Carolina, but I was very specific. What time are we talking?
Yeah, and on a weekend, I actually send out calendar reminders to Daniel Hembrick, and I have to remember personally to go in there and make sure I adjust it to the time zone so that it's not showing up at 6 o'clock Eastern time when it needs to be, Pacific time or Central time or something like that. So that's bit me a couple times, but you learn from your mistakes and try not to make them again.
Talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Daniel Hembrick. On the broadcasts, and everyone knows that the relationship between the crew chief and the driver is very critical, but it could probably be just as critical for you because you've got to finesse his schedule and work with him to make sure that he's doing the things, but you're also not upsetting him by the way you're saying things and scheduling too much, or maybe even scheduling the wrong things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you definitely have to have a good relationship with the driver, and honestly, I don't know that I could have a better driver to work with. I know Daniel's just a sophomore in the series, in the Xfinity series, but he's I think he just turned 27, so he's a little bit more mature than a lot of the other drivers out there. A lot of the other younger drivers out there, I should say. He's just a real genuine guy, real humble guy. Really came up through the sport, working hard on race cars, his own race cars, other people's cars, and just trying to fight and claw to take advantage of any situation that he was in and prove himself. And to have that now at the Xfinity level, it's really great to work with. As you said, he's pulled in a lot of directions, and for us, we know that he's got to talk to the media. We got to get his story out there. We know that we have partners that we need to meet and talk to, whether that's Chevrolet or this year we'll have the South Point Hotel and Casino on the car, whoever it is, Alsco, different partners where we got to go make appearances. But ultimately, competition is first, and that comes first. So whatever we do, we can't take away from his time in the car, debriefing with the crew chief or the rest of the team or his teammates. That definitely comes first. And it's just about communicating and hanging out and getting to know the person and, having that great relationship that, he knows that if I put something on his schedule, it's worth his time doing.
Yeah.
And I respect him if he has an opinion to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. We can talk about that. I'm never going to put him in a situation where he might make a fool of himself or not know something. So not only am I putting stuff on his schedule that is important to do, if he might not be fully up to speed on it, it's my job to get him up to speed, give him talking points. I'm not sitting here telling him he needs to say this or that, but just give him the information he needs so that if he walks into a partner hospitality, he knows who's there, he knows the right people to shake hands with, and what to say about their company. And honestly, I've worked with a couple drivers in the past who really struggled with that, and Daniel's definitely not one of them. He's got a bright future in the sport and has a good head on his shoulders.
Well, I'd been around the track enough working the races that I'd seen the PR person and the driver have some pretty heated discussions sometimes. But now that I'm doing on the radio side, I was kind of interested. Last year, we were lucky enough to get something booked up in Kansas City with Ricky Stenhouse right after he'd got his first win at Talladega. So, we were really pumped about it. And the PR gal come out of the trailer, and she looks us right in the eye, and she goes, "You ask no questions about Danica." And we're like, honestly, that wasn't even on our radar. Here's a guy with his first win. Why would we want to ask him about his girlfriend? And I can see where everybody would be interested in it, and it probably could have made some good radio, but it wasn't even on our radar. radar.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have situations like that. And working with somebody like Paul Menard, who's a very private person, you had that. He doesn't like to talk about his family, rightfully so. And you just have to respect that, but people are going to ask, especially at a time like last year when Paul was having his second child. We definitely got a lot of questions. And, as a person who I used to work at Fox Sports, I was a writer for a long time, so I get that. There's stories that need to be told, and when you write about racing, you get a certain amount of clicks, and when you write about relationship drama and family issues and things like that, you get a whole other set of clicks. And so I definitely understand the media side of it and asking those questions. But moving over to the team side and the PR side and the communication side, you don't want your driver to be asked something that he doesn't want to answer, because it's going to make him uncomfortable. You're going to get answers that aren't the greatest. And our goal is to make the driver look as good as possible, Richard Childress Racing look as good as possible, and all the partners we're representing look as good as possible. So I think it's just working with the media to have an understanding of, hey, this is what, if you want a good interview, these are the things that you might want to avoid talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys do a good job, and obviously Richard Childress Racing has a very great reputation in the sport and throughout the media, so you guys are doing a good job there. I think you kind of answered this a little bit, but I want to come back and just ask it real quick, because it's something that I personally have always wondered. Do you guys work with the drivers as far as cleaning up their answers and kind of doing some PR?
Little coaching?
Yeah, coaching, stuff like that, because you can tell a difference between a local dirt track answer, a regionally touring answer, and a NASCAR answer.
I mean, I think you have to do a little bit of that, and I think ultimately it depends on the person. Mm-hmm. I think people... I think once you're in the Cup Series for a while, you know how to answer those. And if you're up there and you've been around for a while and you have a way of answering questions, you're not going to change that all the time. I don't think, for example, you're not going to get Paul Menard on social media. It's just not going to happen.
And you're not going to get Ryan Blaney off of social media. So
exactly. But I think some of the younger drivers, and we have a good group of younger drivers that have come through our ranks and are continuing to come through our ranks. And as a communications department and as a marketing department, one of our big jobs is to not only promote these guys, but help them promote themselves and help them kind of know what the NASCAR fans are looking for, but also NASCAR is looking for and partners are looking for. So we have a couple young guys who will be driving Xfinity races for us this year in Shane Lee and Jeb Burton. So these are real conversations that we've had with those guys is, okay, we've looked at your social media and here's some of the things that we think you're doing well. And here's some of the things that we think you could be doing better. And, we really want these guys to come out of their shell and to open up their personalities and allow race fans to get to know who they are outside of the race car and outside of the racetrack so that they can start developing their own following and their own fan base. You're going to have that fan base that follows them from the local short tracks to the regional tracks up to the ARCA series and all throughout. But once you get up into NASCAR, it's a whole different can of worms, so to speak. And, our job is to make sure that they feel comfortable answering questions. Again, we're not going to tell them what to say, but, our job is to kind of help them come up with the right answers on their own and just make sure that they know they have a solid understanding of what fans are looking for, what kind of interest they're interested in. We don't want everybody to go out there and be cookie cutter drivers. Not everybody's going to be a Jimmy Johnson. Not everybody's going to have the personality of a Ryan Blaney. And we don't want them to do that. We want them to have their personality because that's who they are. That's what got them here. Our job is just to refine that and hone that and make it so that, when they stand up in front of a crowd at Daytona, the Team Chevy appearance, they don't feel uncomfortable and they feel like they have what it takes to get up there and relate to the fans and offer something that the fans are going to enjoy. And maybe there's a kid in the crowd or, somebody who's looking for a new driver that, well, you know what? I know Shane Lee, he likes to go hunting and he likes to play golf. So I do that too. So I'm going to hook on to him and I'm going to root for him this year. So it's just little things like that.
Yeah.
And, when it comes to partner appearances, again, it's just helping them understand who the partner is, what their goal is with the program and who the right people, who the influential people within that partnership are, and just kind of helping them along there.
Jay Pennell, did I say it right that time?
You got it, Jay Pennell.
Woo! I usually get it wrong even far after you tell me, so I'm just going to roll with it. Jay, I do appreciate your time. with RCR and going to be working with Daniel Hemrick in the Xfinity Series. We look forward to seeing you at Iowa Speedway and Kansas Speedway. Really do appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and those are two great tracks. We love going there, so y'all come out and see the races.
All right.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he's talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around their professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 4, and it's just about ready to time, Dirk. We've been waiting all off season, and you make it sound like all off season. It's only been like 80-some days since we saw the checkered flag at
It's been
Homestead.
80-some weeks.
Yeah, but it seems like forever, and we're going to cap off our Daytona 500 preview show with another Earnhardt that's going to continue the names. Jeffery Earnhardt of StarCom Racing is joining us now on the phone. Jeffrey, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing really well, and it's so great to talk racing. It's so great to have the Daytona 500 getting us set for the 2018 season. And so, you know, when you guys made the announcement with StarCom Racing that you were joining forces and you'd be driving the 00 in the Cup Series, it was a no-brainer. I shot an email over to you guys and said, we got to get Jeffrey on the show.
That's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate y'all getting me on. It definitely, was a quick deal. It all came together really fast, and very, very fortunate to be here for sure.
You know, with your last name, there's probably not many things that are in your destiny other than holding a steering wheel. So can you kind of talk about what all you've raced and what your career has encompassed so far getting into the Cup Series?
As a kid growing up, I never really was too into racing. I'd always go watch my dad race and stuff like that, but I never expressed a big interest in wanting to drive until I was about 12 years old. And a local dirt track where my stepmom was from started this series called the Hornet Division, where 12-year-olds, it was an age group from 12 to 18, could race a 4-cylinder front-wheel drive street car with a roll cage and racing seat and all that good stuff. So when they started that, I was like, man, I'd like to go do that. So I actually begged my dad for 2 years to let me go race. And he finally told me, he said, look, you go get the sponsors in the car and you can go race. And I don't think he expected me to be able to do it. And luckily I had some really family friends that were in the area that had companies, and they one of them actually had a car sitting there. So they all joined on board, and I went to my dad and I said, all right, well, I did what you told me, so can I go race now? And away I went. But I raced on dirt for about 2 years, and then went to asphalt late models, and then from that I signed a contract with my grandpa's company, DEI, to run the K&N Developmental Series. Did that for 2 years, and DEI kind of fell apart. There was no more DEI, so it was a lot of hard work and ups and downs, and good deals, bad deals, but it was all a big learning process from that point on. Did a little bit of trucks, part-time Xfinity, and then got the opportunity to go Cup racing, and now here I am on my I guess this will be my third year in the Cup Series, and looking forward to really hoping to make big strides this year.
Take me through that DEI moment. I don't want to dwell on maybe a rough time, but that had to be pretty demoralizing when the company fell apart and you're left kind of standing there going, well, now where do I go?
Yeah, it was a tough deal. Obviously the fact of what my grandfather had built and how I guess amazing of a company it was. You talk to the guys that were there from the start or there for a long period of time, or even the ones that weren't, the ones that were only there for a few years. You talk to them and just hear about how great of a place DEI was, and that's all thanks to my grandfather and what he did there. He built a state-of-the-art place with some of the best, cars on the track. And, it was pretty crazy to see that just all, wash away and fall apart. But, it was part of it. You just kind of, move forward and work hard to put yourself in another good situation. And, all the hard work, keeps paying off. You end up getting great deals like this one to work for StarCom Racing and having Derek there. I mean, Derek's been in the sport forever and really knows the ins and outs of the sport. So, the hard work, it was a lot of hard work and I'm sure it'll continue to be a lot of hard work, from everyone's part, but, it always pays off.
You said earlier that the StarCom deal came together real fast and everything's been moving fast. Can you tell us kind of how you got hooked up with StarCom and maybe a little bit about your deal? Like, is it the full season, or are you driving a handful of races? What's going on with you this year?
I had a deal for this coming year, signed, we re-signed last October with CSTMG to continue to drive the 33 car for Curtis Key and Joe Falk, and that all fell apart. I think it was a couple of weeks before Christmas I got a phone call from Joe Falk. So that all fell apart and ended up being a pretty bad deal. But I keep telling everyone that one door closed for a better one to open. And at the time I was pretty stressed. Being that late in the game and not having a whole lot of opportunities out there. I didn't really know what was available, and I wasn't aware of what StarCom was trying to do with acquiring the charter from the 27. So, it was a tough deal. And then once I heard that, they had gotten the charter from RCR and then I came and spoke with Derek, and he told me, what the owners of StarCom Racing are looking forward to doing with their race team, and showed me the equipment that they've already invested a lot of money in to purchase to have good cars at the track. It was just a no-brainer, the plans that they have and the ideas that they want to do to build their team is really exciting for me as a driver, and I'm hoping that I can be a big part of that.
And is this a full season deal, or are you going to be sharing seat time with anybody?
Right now it's a full season deal. We're still working on the sponsorship side of things. Luckily we got VRX involved. They're a great company. They built some pretty awesome motion simulators. They build all kinds of simulators and for all different kinds of things, not just cars, but they were telling me how they got a bobsled simulator that the Canadian bobsled team uses, just all kind of stuff that's really, really cool to hear. So, we're still working on the sponsorship side of things and building that. Obviously, it takes a lot of dollars to go out there and do everything the right way. But luckily, the owners of StarCom have invested a lot of their money into this deal that's made it, be where it's at today.
Well, if you could bring a bobsled simulator to the racetrack and put that in a hospitality tent, you would have the most popular hospitality tent at the track.
The original plan was to bring it down, and there was just a lot of stuff that they couldn't get worked out in such short notice. But I told them, I was like, man, I'd like to get into that. I've never been in a bobsled. It reminded me of that movie Cool Runnings. If they had a simulator for the Jamaican bobsled team, it probably would have been a lot easier for them to practice.
If you do get them talked into bring it to Kansas Speedway, because that's one I definitely know we're going to be at, and we'll go ahead and make a few runs with you.
With the Cup Series, obviously there's road courses, there's super speedways, which you'll be at today for the 500. There's speedways like Kansas, and then there's the short tracks. Is there a style of track that you really enjoy?
I personally really enjoy the concrete tracks. I like going to Bristol. I like going to Dover. They just, to me, the way they race, the way you drive them, I really enjoy. I like the aggressive factor that you can just really get after it at both of them tracks, and it's like that's what the car likes. It likes to be driven hard, and there's so many just different things about those tracks that I just seem to really, really enjoy. But I like road racing too. I haven't gotten to run a road course in the Cup car, so really looking forward to that. Felt like I did pretty well in the past on road courses, and did some Grand End stuff, run the 24-hour race a couple times, and just really looking forward to that because, the road courses is a change up, and we got the Roval this year. So I think that's going to be a very interesting race. Should be a lot of fun and create some big excitement. But mostly the concrete high bank tracks, those are my favorite.
Okay, take Jeffrey at Bristol and Dover for our fantasy league. Got it. All right.
Obviously, your last name's going to open a lot of doors for you, and with your uncle just retiring, do you think maybe you're going to be able to kind of step out of the shadows, so to speak, or did you kind of like being behind the scenes a little bit?
I definitely think stepping out of the shadow would definitely help as far as doing me as a brand and bringing more attention from sponsors and getting a lot of publicity that way. But it was kind of nice being in the shadows and not having too much pressure. There's always been pressure, growing up as a kid with that last name and trying to make it in the racing world, which is a tough world to make it in. But it's definitely going to be an interesting year to see how many of the Earnhardt fans continue to pull for the Earnhardt name. And, I'm not saying I'm out here to try and take Dale Jr.'s place or take my grandpa's place, but, to carry on that legacy that my grandfather built is a big importance to me. It's something that, I feel like I have to do because I knew what it meant to my grandfather and all the hard work that he did to create that name. I'd hate to feel like I let him down.
If you were the god of racing, you could change anything about racing. Laws of physics be damned. What would it be?
I think if we could just get more drivers to interact and be closer with the fans, in my opinion, that would bring more fans back to the track. In my personal opinion, forever, whatever that's worth, and I try to make sure that I do the best I can to spend time with fans and sign autographs. And you see some people, and I know everyone's busy and they have things to do, but without the fans, we don't get to do what we love to do, and they spend their hard-earned dollars to come out to these tracks and support us and watch our races. So the drivers that just keep walking right by the fans and don't stop and sign for them. That's if I could change something, I would want to change that.
In just a couple hours, you'll be lining that 00 Chevrolet up for the starting grid for the Daytona 500. Do you still get nervous? Is there butterflies in your stomach before you take that checkered flag, or are you cool as a cucumber?
Well, you might get nervous for the green flag. You can go get nervous for that checkered flag.
Dang it.
You always get butterflies and be nervous whenever it comes to the Daytona 500. That's the biggest race of the year for us. We're backwards. We got the Super Bowl first, so you definitely always. I don't know that it's butterflies, excitement, or what, but it's always a funny feeling whenever you're in Daytona, and obviously the family history there probably makes it mean even more to me. But definitely going to have some butterflies.
Jeffery Earnhardt, driver of the 00 for StarCom. Good luck today in the Daytona 500, and we can't wait to meet you in person down at Kansas for the Go Bowling 400 in May.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all having me on today.
Thanks a lot, Jeffrey. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, so that's your preview for today. Quaker Steak and Lube, the Daytona 500 party. We're going to be there at about noon. The party gets kicked off at about 1. Green flag
today?
is at about 1:30. It's finally today. It is finally today. So get over to Quaker Steak and Lube. Lots of great specials, lots of prizes to win. You can do some racing ahead of time over at Joe's Karting, just across the street on 23rd Avenue. Come watch the Daytona 500, win some awesome prizes, hang out with us, get signed up for the league. Really, you couldn't ask for a better thing on a day like today.
No, we're going to have a good day. We're going to have a good time. It's we have a good time whenever we're over there.
Yeah.
Chris takes real good care of everybody.
Yep.
Just come on over and enjoy yourselves, enjoy us, and look forward to seeing everybody.
We'll do it again next weekend. This has been the Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Have you ever watched NASCAR, dirt track, or IndyCar and thought, I could do that? Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs is the place to put your money where your mouth is. Races fire off every 10 minutes, so what are you waiting for? Get to Joe's Karting on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs, next to the Mid-America Center, and find out how easy it is to drive a race car. Each Joe's Karting car is powered by an eco-friendly Honda engine capable of a 14-second lap. That's if you're as good as you think.
The official watering hole of the Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Any driver will tell you that the key to winning a race is preventive maintenance. Pat at Eccles Heating and Air can make sure your wallet is on the winning side with a preventive care package. Pat will look over your existing unit and make recommendations to make sure you're toasty warm this winter. Drivers trust Pat at the racetrack with their safety, so you know you can trust him with your home heating. Call Pat today at 402-331-1755 and schedule your heater checkup. Eccles Heating and Air.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.